Hi guys, welcome to the next video. So I've done a community post which is a bit of a poll asking my audience, you guys, which direction should I take the channel, what themes do you like, stay with the classic car videos and restoration tips, product reviews, or talking more about the I don't know, maybe the new driving laws and the legal aspects of driving. And it was a mixed bag, really. And only 12 of you actually responded to it. So I ask you to, if you could go to my community section, my post section on my channel, and vote for what direction, what video, more, I'll spit the words out, what type of videos you want to see more of in this channel, because I've been noticing a dip in my views, and you know, my sort of I wouldn't say legal, but they're talking about driving law videos were really popular. I was getting over 100,000 views, and then other videos crashed and they get barely 100 views. So if you could do the poll and let me know sort of which direction, I would say there's only so far I can go with the like the driving laws thing until there's actually a new law that comes out that I can tell you guys about if you don't already know. So yeah, but what I did with this video is ask ChatGPT their thoughts on what they know from existing laws, up and coming laws, and where the laws are going to be in 2040. And I know that's a long time off, but it's interesting. So what I did was I brought ChatGPT up on the phone and I asked it a few questions, which I shall do now, and it's interesting. Hi. So following on from our last conversation, if you could just recap over that again, what do you think in the next, by 2040, what the new driving laws will be?
Absolutely. So by 2040, we can expect driving laws to be more focused on safety, sustainability, and technology. For instance, we might see stricter emissions standards, possibly even bans on certain petrol or diesel vehicles in cities. Autonomous vehicle regulations will probably be a big deal too, and there might be more rules around data privacy and cybersecurity for connected cars. It's definitely an exciting area to speculate on.
Okay, can you elaborate further on that regarding sort of autonomous driving?
Sure thing. With autonomous driving by 2040, we can probably expect laws that ensure these vehicles are safe and reliable. That might mean mandatory safety standards for AI systems, regular software updates, and maybe even some form of insurance specifically tailored for autonomous vehicles. There could also be regulations on how these cars interact with human drivers and pedestrians, possibly even new road infrastructure to support these vehicles. It's definitely going to be a big shift from how we handle driving today.
Okay, so who will be buying the insurance? Will it still be us as the drivers, or will it be somebody else?
That's a really interesting question. I think that as autonomous vehicles become the norm, the insurance landscape will likely change. It might shift towards manufacturers or software providers being responsible, especially for the AI systems that drive the cars. So the insurance might be bundled into the purchase or lease of the vehicle. Of course, there could still be some level of personal insurance for things like personal liability, but the overall model will probably be quite different.
Interesting. So the manufacturers and the software providers might not like that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a bit of a balancing act. Manufacturers and software providers might have some reservations because it means taking on more responsibility, but it could also incentivize them to make their systems as safe and reliable as possible, which could be good for everyone. there might be new business models or partnerships that emerge to handle this. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
So either way, we'll still be paying for it.
Yeah, that's probably true in one way or another. Whether it's through the cost of the vehicle, a subscription model, or a bit of both, we'll definitely still be footing the bill. But hopefully it'll be a lot more convenient and safer in the long run.
So these vehicles that we will be paying for, will we actually own them? Or by 2040, will ownership of our own vehicles be a thing of the past?
That's a great question. By 2040, it's quite possible that vehicle ownership will shift more towards a subscription or shared model. People might prefer to access autonomous vehicles on demand rather than owning them outright, kind of like a ride-sharing service, but with fully autonomous cars. Of course, some people might still want to own their own vehicle for a sense of personal freedom, so there might be a mix of both. It'd be fascinating to see how it all unfolds.
Okay, thank you. So there isn't really anything sort of dystopian on the horizon from what you can find online and your own, I won't say feelings, but your own or thoughts really, because you don't do either. But what you can perceive from what you can find on the internet.
Yeah, from what we can see, the future of autonomous vehicles seems to have a lot of positive aspects, like improved safety, reduced traffic accidents, and more efficient transportation. Of course, there are always potential challenges and concerns like data privacy and impact on jobs, but overall, the outlook seems more about making things more convenient and safer. But it's always good to keep an eye on the potential downsides as well, just to make sure everything stays balanced.
Oh, interesting. So I noticed you said impact on jobs. So how do you see it impacting on people's jobs?
Yeah, that's a really important point.
Hello?
I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice. You can switch to standard now to keep chatting.
Okay, please. Yeah, switch. Okay, so can you carry on with the conversation?
Sure. What part of the conversation would you like to continue from?
How will it impact on people's jobs? The future of autonomous driving.
Autonomous driving will definitely impact many jobs, especially in industries like transport and logistics. For example, truck drivers, taxi drivers, and delivery drivers might see a reduction in demand for human drivers as autonomous vehicles take over those roles. But on the flip side, there could be new job opportunities in areas like vehicle maintenance, AI programming, and cybersecurity for autonomous systems. There's also the potential for a shift in the types of jobs available, with more focus on tech and engineering roles to develop, test, and manage these vehicles. So while some jobs might be replaced, new ones could emerge as the industry evolves. What do you think about how the job market might shift?
I think we'll be losing a lot of jobs to AI, and it's not all vehicle related. For instance, down to creating a website, or if you're a graphic designer, I think that job's going to go out the window very soon.
Yeah, you're right. AI is already making huge strides in areas beyond just driving. Graphic designers, web developers, even copywriters are feeling the pressure as AI tools can create content or designs faster and cheaper. While it might make some jobs redundant, it could also push the industry to adapt and innovate. Some people might shift toward more strategic roles or specialize in areas AI can't handle, like emotional intelligence in design or human-centered creativity. But the transition won't be easy, especially for those whose skills are more easily replaced. Do you think the push for upskilling and adapting to new roles will be enough, or do you think society might struggle with this shift?
I think society will struggle. They'll try the best to adapt. But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting period, really. So, my other thoughts to end this conversation was, can you see restrictions to our travels to zoned areas in the next 20 years?
It's definitely an interesting thought. With climate change, environmental concerns, and smart city technologies becoming more prominent, it's possible we might see more restrictions on travel in certain areas. Cities could implement green zones or low emission zones where only certain types of vehicles, like electric ones, are allowed, or even set limits on non-essential travel to reduce congestion and pollution. If technology improves further, there might be more strict controls on where we can go based on things like carbon footprint, traffic patterns, or even health data, if that's monitored for public safety. It could lead to a more fragmented experience of travel, where we'll need to get permission or pay to enter certain zones. It's going to be a balance between convenience, sustainability, and individual freedoms, and how society reacts to that shift will be key. How do you think people will feel about these kinds of restrictions?
I don't think it'll go down too well at all. But if there is an increase of carbon in the atmosphere, we're seeing an increase in plant growth around the world, aren't we?
Yeah, if carbon emissions continue to rise, it might force stricter measures, even if they're unpopular. People might push back at first, but if the effects of climate change worsen, like more extreme weather events, poor air quality, or health crises, there could be more public support for measures that protect the environment. It's kind of a tough situation because people will have to weigh convenience against the long-term health of the planet. But those types of restrictions could become more accepted if they're framed as necessary for survival, especially if alternative technologies like cleaner transport options are made more accessible. Do you think these changes will come more from government regulations or from technological innovation?
Hang on, you didn't answer my question. My question was, if there is an increased amount of carbon in the atmosphere, why are our plants thriving?
I see what you mean now. It's an interesting paradox. Plants do thrive in higher carbon dioxide CO2 levels to some extent, as CO2 is a key ingredient in photosynthesis, the process by which plants convert sunlight into energy. In fact, some studies suggest that higher CO2 can lead to a CO2 fertilization effect, where plants grow faster and become more efficient at photosynthesis. However, this doesn't necessarily mean it's all good news. While some plants might thrive, the overall impact of excess carbon is much more complicated. The rise in CO2 is also linked to global warming, which brings with it changes like higher temperatures, more frequent droughts, and shifts in precipitation patterns that could stress ecosystems. Some plants might benefit, but many others could struggle with these altered conditions. Plus, the benefits of CO2 fertilization are not endless. It can plateau after a certain point. So, while plants might be thriving in some ways, the bigger picture of climate change could still be harmful to ecosystems overall.
So,
Does that make sense?
kind of, but bringing it back
It's a
to...
lot to take in, isn't it?
It
Essentially,
is.
plants can benefit from higher CO2 up to a point, but the broader effects of climate change, like temperature rise and extreme weather, could outweigh those benefits. The relationship between carbon, plant growth, and climate is complex, and while plants may initially thrive, the overall ecological balance might still be in danger. How do you feel about the whole situation?
Well, bringing it back to cars, because this is a car channel, I think the impact from our motor vehicles, particularly our petrol and diesel cars, are so minute in comparison to other countries with heavy industry, China for example, that emissions are far higher than they are here in the UK, I think we're using a sledgehammer to
You bring up a valid point.
crack a nut.
While emissions from cars, especially petrol and diesel vehicles, do contribute to air pollution and carbon levels, it's true that countries with heavy industries, like China, have much higher overall emissions. Factories, energy production, and industrial processes account for a significant chunk of global CO2 emissions. In comparison, the UK has made substantial progress in reducing vehicle emissions and transitioning to cleaner energy sources. That said, it's still important to reduce our own emissions where we can, even if they're a smaller portion of the global problem. If every country made improvements, it could have a big collective impact. But at the same time, international cooperation on emissions from industries and other sectors is key to making a real difference. Do you think that balancing individual responsibility, like reducing car emissions, and tackling bigger industrial issues will help solve the climate crisis?
No, in a nutshell, because whatever we do is completely cancelled out by other countries, and I don't think there's a real big problem. Anyway, I'm going to end the conversation here because the video's going on too long. So thank you and goodbye.
I get where you're coming from. It can feel like individual actions are just a drop in the ocean when big players are contributing much more. It's definitely a complex issue. Thanks for the chat. Take care.
Bye. Right, so I hope you're still with me on this. We've come to the end of the video now, but who gets the feeling that AI has been nobbled to push the agenda? Anyway, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.